if you'd like to overcome stage fright caused by a fear of failure, you have to understand that everybody fails sometime.
Welcome to Speakers Are Leaders podcast with Harry Sardinas and Lily Patrascu. Discover how to become a charismatic speaker and leader so you can attract ideal clients and business collaborations.
There are so many different things that could possibly go wrong when you are speaking. And I remember that I did some presentations where I felt it was so important that I sell something. Okay. Now, the pressure of selling something can be quite overpowering. Okay. Because then you're focusing, okay, we did a great workshop. We put in a lot of money to gather everyone together. I have to sell something, but I did not prepare. Okay. And the worst thing happened. And what happened was that the computer ran out of power during the sales presentation. So we did the workshop, ran like a 2-day workshop. And then the time came for me to do the sales pitch. And I was selling some sort of high ticket program. And then halfway, the computer ran out of power. And then also we did manage to, plug it back in, but there's like this cut when the thing happened. And then we managed to kind of plug it back in. And then I think there was a problem with the clicker as well. And what happened is that, when something happens in the middle of your presentation, especially when you have pressure to sell, it's almost like it felt like the whole thing was messed up. Like I just felt like, oh my God, what am I going to do now? But luckily I had looked over my presentation before. Okay. And yes, I didn't prepare thoroughly, but I did have an idea of what I was going to say. So what I started doing is I pulled out what is it that, not a clipboard, a flipboard, I think it's called. It's
flip chart.
Flip chart. Okay. Flip chart. I pulled the flip chart and I started writing on it with a pen. But what happened is that what you're supposed to do as a prepared and amazing speaker is that you're supposed to have a certain type of pens that have a lot of ink and that can be seen from far away. But
thick, right thick.
Yes. But what I had done was I brought normal pens, or I think I forgot to bring pens, and I was using the pens that the venue was offering. And
the pens for the venue.
Yeah, they were not very good pens. Okay. So yes, they were writing, but it was very thin and you couldn't really see very well. And yes, they were multicolored, which is a great thing. But because the pen ink was not very strong, I started writing and you could hardly see, even I could hardly see what I was writing. And also my writing is very bad. It's very not ugly, I would say. Okay. So I started writing everything on the flip chart, and then the computer was, plugged back in, but then I had to review it. So basically the whole thing was messed up. Did I sell anything that day? No, I did not. Surprisingly.
Why? Because you're forcing an outcome.
I haven't finished. But the thing is that like that, I have had many failures where I sold nothing, where there was an intense pressure that I personally put on myself to sell something. Because, we used to organize these big events and you have to put, tens of thousands of pounds to run these kind of events. Do paid advertisement, you fill, a room of 200, 250 people. And then you have a program that you're offering. And there's a pressure to fill at least the cost of filling the room. Okay. To at least kind of cover that. And I didn't. And I did that multiple times. So the thing is, did I fail? Oh, yes, absolutely. Multiple times. And the thing you have to understand is that you have to do something at least 100 times, and then you may see progress. Okay. And if you prepare, which I didn't, okay, if you prepare, then you limit the number of failures that will happen. So you just have to prepare and not do what I did, but do what I say instead.
At the end of the day, it's skill. again, the more you practice, the better you become. It doesn't matter how much you prepare. You can prepare and prepare a lot. Yes, that it's like when you're learning how to drive. To prepare for the theoretic exam is going to help you to drive. Of course, it's going to help you. And you can have 100 points in the theoretic exam how to drive because you prepare for it. However, this doesn't going to make you. It won't guarantee you can drive effectively. Practice is what is going to get you there. So, within this pressure that Lily is describing, what happened in the process is that, of course, is in your thinking. If you're gonna do one event and you're gonna sell your offer at the end of the event, and because you see other speakers, right? They do a workshop, they speak, and after they 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 sell and they offer, and people buy it, and you think that this also is going to happen for you without knowing that this speaker that is already speaking and selling had done this hundreds of times, and he is also very skilled uh, learning, and he already had the skill of doing the whole process. So when you never feel when you do a workshop that after when you're going to make your offer, if you don't sell, don't feel bad, because what you need to look at it is that you're just developing in skill. On the other hand, there is also a problem because you put it on the space that you have a product and you have to sell it. But once you shift the paradigm and actually you are offering a product to your audience that could be a big contribution to their life, it's like you're doing a disservice for them if they don't buy your product and service. And then when you're coming from that space, when you're not forcing an outcome, when you are genuinely having a product that can make a huge difference and make a big contribution to their life, you will know it's a mix of a skill, but also the way that you have this internal communication with you, regardless that regarding what your product is, why you created this product, and what the big benefit that your product will do with the audience. Because from that space, only love, contribution, joy can come, and the audience will feel that you have an energy and you want them for them to acquire that product, because you know better than anyone that you're doing a disservice if they go and buy similar product from somebody else, because nobody else will look after them like you do.
Yes. So the thing to know is that there are multiple types of failure. So, for example, if you're not selling any program, you could still feel like you're failing if, let's say, you are going to do a TED Talk and you haven't prepared enough and then you forget your lines. Or let's say you're doing a presentation for work and then you're not selling anything again, but you forget something or you say something incorrectly, or you become like a laughing stock of the audience because you didn't prepare. Okay. So the important thing is that failure is part of the process. And the best thing you can do is practice and rehearse and feel good about yourself and do your best. That's all you can do. And to know that also there will be a lot of things that may possibly go wrong. And there are so many things that could possibly go wrong.
Absolutely. I remember once I was speaking and the whole screen fell. Do you remember, Lily?
To know that you need to prepare for what could possibly go wrong. Okay, I'm going to tell you what could possibly go wrong. One thing that could possibly go wrong is that you may not have pens that work. So you need to be prepared with your own pens, and don't count on the hotel giving you pens that write really well. You need to buy a certain type of really thick pens to write on a flip chart. And let's say even if you have prepared a normal presentation, a PowerPoint presentation, what could happen is you could go to the venue and you will figure out there is no screen. So you will be forced to either write something on the flip chart or just say everything without a flip chart. You have to be prepared for that. Another thing you need to be prepared for is that sometimes there is no plug Okay. Now, okay, these are very random situations, but I can tell you, I have experienced some of these things.
Or to us, everything has happened.
What has happened? Okay. You to plug in your computer. Okay. And again, it's an extreme example because in most places there should be, but you have to think in advance of what could possibly go wrong and you have to prepare some sort of solution for it. Okay. Now, if let's say you have to speak for 5 minutes or 3 minutes, what could possibly go wrong is you could speak a lot longer. You could end up speaking 10 minutes or 15 minutes because you have no awareness of time. And this happens to everyone, so don't worry. And if this happens, and let's say not only you do it, but multiple speakers do that at an event, what will happen is the very last few speakers will not get time. And because of that, they may have traveled from far away. Imagine someone traveling from, I don't know, from another country for them to speak 5 minutes and they don't get the opportunity because of you. How guilty will you feel? Like, okay, some people will not care about that, but I do. And you need to prepare for that. And how do you prepare is first, you prepare by rehearsing your speech. And secondly, you prepare by maybe having a person in the front row with an iPad that shows the clock, like a timer that shows when your time is up.
Need a timekeeper.
The other thing you have to prepare is for the fact that events are fluid in timing. What I mean by that is that because a lot of people do not prepare or the timing is wrong from the beginning, because of that, you may need to shorten your speech. Imagine you are one of the very last speakers, and instead of your scheduled 20 minutes, you have only 3 minutes or you have only 1 minute. And what could happen is literally as you're about to go to the stage, the presenter tells you, oh, we only have 2 minutes or we only have 1 minute, right? And then all of a sudden you're like panicking. Oh my God, how could I have only 1 minute? Because I was supposed to have 20 minutes. So you prepared your speech for 20 minutes and all of a sudden you have to shorten it into 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes or whatever it was. And that can cause you to fail. What I mean by that is to fail by over speaking and then, delaying the presentation or delaying everything for the next speaker, making it impossible for the next speaker to speak. Or it could mean that you are unable to say the message you came to say simply because you don't have the allotted time that was allotted in the beginning. Now, one thing to know is that most speakers are not so well prepared to the point that if you tell them, oh, speak 15 minutes, they will speak just 15 minutes. A lot of them will, they'll speak 16 minutes.
Literally everybody will go over time. However, there is something that with experience, you guys as a speaker, you should remember. One, never, ever overrun the time. Because if you speak more than you're allocating time, exactly what I did share with you, other people won't be able to speak and won't be fair. The other thing is you have to be able to, when we organize the event, to set up the rules clearly for all the speakers. For example, in our stage, this is a rule and everybody knows if somebody overrun 1 minute in our stage, never speak ever again in our stages. All the speakers knows this. So everybody, when they speak at our event, they're very conscious of time and they make sure they rehearse. They also know that we're gonna be keeping them accountable for the time because we need to make it fair for other people. Now, as you as a speaker, what you can fail if you are in one of our events is that if you have 15 minutes to speak, right? And then you start to speak and then it's already 14 minutes and you haven't changed your main idea, well, what could happen is your speech will be cut in half because you won't be able to finish because literally we're getting you out of the stage, if that makes sense, because we want to make it for the other people. So you have to rehearse, prepare, and you also need to learn how to speak and look at the time. You speak, you look at the time, and when you see, that about 5 minutes you should be covering this topic. About 10 minutes you should be in this topic. About 15 minutes you should be in that point. If 5 minutes pass and you're not in the first point, you haven't arrived yet. What that means is you need to speak faster. You're running behind. And again, when you see minute number 10, you already covered the two main points, you say, okay, I'm fine with time. I can I can keep speaking at the same pace. You need to learn also how to accelerate and how to reduce the speed of your speak so you finish exactly at the time allocated to you. This skill that the more you practice, the better you become, like everything we covered in today.
Here's a great way for you to reduce the likelihood of failing if you are the organizer of an event. Every organizer tends to plan their event in the incorrect way. So, for example, let's say you have Pedro who is speaking in the first 5 minutes or whatever time frame, 90 minutes or whatever, right? You have to allow for time for break or a time for applause for introducing them. Okay, so for example, if let's say Pedro is speaking for 5 minutes and then you have, I know, Sandra speaking for 5 minutes and you have another speaker for 5 minutes, you cannot tell them that they will be speaking for 5 minutes and then not plan for the intro time. So for example, the introduction time of the MC saying, and now we will welcome to the stage Pedro. Give him a big round of applause. And you have to count for 1 minute or 1.5 minutes or whatever time frame. You have to kind of check how long that takes to introduce them. And then again, when they have finished, you have to plan for the time of giving them an applause. And I would say 99% of event organizers do not do that. And because of that, you are failing before you haven't even started. Okay, because you haven't planned for that time of applause. And every time I look at someone's calendar with the event agenda, and I'm noticing everything is planned, every 5 minutes or every an hour or whatever it is. And then you see the event happening, and at the end, some people didn't get to speak. It's because of that. Okay, so what you have to do is plan for these moments of
and allocate time to for inconvenience.
Yeah, it's like, for me, it's like I mean, it's common sense to me, but it's not common sense for like 99% of event organizers. And now the people who do plan for that, they are winning from the very beginning. And they are winning because they are allowing for some buffer time in between speakers. And let's say if you know that a certain speaker will be speaking for 5 minutes or 20 minutes or 90 minutes or whatever, you are going to allow for this buffer time, and then you are not going to make mistakes. You are going to be winning. But you also have to be strict with the speakers, because you're not going to tell them that they are going to be speaking for 90 minutes if every speaker is back to back. You're going to be telling them they are going to be speaking for 80 minutes to give yourself a bit of time, or 85 minutes or whatever it is, so that there is that buffer. And that way you are winning and you are not failing when you are speaking.
Follow us for more charismatic speaker and leader tips.